Here's Broadway Maven co-host Mateo Chavez Lewis.
Grease takes place in the 50s.
Please like and subscribe.
And the music, even though it was written in the early 70s, the music sounds like the music of the 50s. 50s pop bubblegum music. I just finished doing a contract a few months ago where I was in a show called Forever Plaid, which uses a bunch of songs that were hits in the 50s in the show. And all of the songs I had to learn for that show kind of used a very similar chord progression. And it all kind of started from one big major smash hit song in the 50s. And that chord progression shows up in Grease all the time. So I'm going to break down what that chord progression is. If you know Grease, you already know what the chord progression is. It's C, 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 A minor, F, 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 G, 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 G7. What's that playing on the radio? It's these four chords. C, A minor, F, G. And then maybe adding the seventh note, but basically just G. Almost every song in Grease is based on these exact four chords, or like a very similar kind of variation of these four chords.
Join our free weekly Broadway appreciation classes at thebroadwaymaven.com.
So for example, one of the obvious examples is we go together like Rama-Lama-Lama, ka-ding-a-ding-ding-dong, together forever like shoo-bop-shoo-wada-wada, yippity-boom-da-boom. C, A minor, F, G. Same four chords. And obviously those magic changes, right? What's that playing on the radio? I keep swaying to and fro. It's also, I spend my days just mooning all over you. Right? C, A minor, F, G. So a lot of the songs are these exact four chords. Now, something else that's very interesting is that even the songs that don't have the exact four chord progression have something very similar, or like a very slight variation on it. So for example, if you look at me, I'm Sandra D, lousy with virginity. If you look at those chords, we have C, F, then if you look at what my left hand is doing, there's a passing tone, which is when I'm going from one chord to another, and I just play the note in between them on the way. So I kind of make a stop. So F, passing tone to G. So the chord progression for Sandra D is basically the same four chords, but we just skip the A minor. So C, then normally there would be an A minor, but there isn't. We go straight to F. And then we have this passing tone, which is just in between F and G. And then we go to G, which is very similar to the only thing that's missing is that A minor. And that also plays into what Peter was talking about, how it's a waltz feeling, which plays into the innocence. The one chord that is emitted from this chord progression in Sandra D is the minor chord, the only minor chord. So all of the chords left are major, which makes it feel very upbeat and light and naive in that way. Baby, I'm in misery. I think Sandy is also close. I don't know if that chord is an F, but it's definitely C, A minor, something G. So all over this show, you have variations of the same four chords. Oh, and you're the one that I want. You are the one I want. You, ooh, ooh, honey, the one that I want. You are the one I want. You, ooh, ooh, honey. That's C, and then ooh, 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 honey. That's C, A minor, F, and then we just skip the G and go right back to C. You're the one that I want. You are the one I want. You, ooh, ooh, honey. C, A minor, F. So it's all based on these 4 chords, C, A minor, F, and G. And they're all very like simple triads, which is just like basic 3-note chords. And the reason that sounds like the 50s is because, and if some of you know how to play piano, you're already ahead of me on this one, is because it's the same 4 chords as this. Exactly. C, A minor, F, G. So this song basically exploded onto the scene and changed the way that pop music sounded. And then Grease, in order to make it sound like that time period, basically just took the same chords that Heart and Soul was using to define the sound of the 50s and just used those chords to write the score for their show that was set in the 50s. So it's a great example of like using the authentic music of the time period that the story is set, because it uses the exact chords of arguably the biggest hit of the 50s. And yes, those are those magic changes. Oh, and I forgot my favorite one. Beauty school dropout. No graduation day for you is the same. C, A minor, F, G. There you go.
No, Mateo, I remember that there was a class where you showed us Heart and Soul and said that it related to the music of that class. Do you remember what class that was? Was it Little Shop?
That was Little Shop of Horrors, because I was talking about how in Little Shop the music kind of evolves from 50s music at the start to 60s, 70s, and 80s. So we kind of see the timeline of pop music progress throughout those 4 decades over the course of the show from beginning to end. And yeah, the beginning sounds like 50s music because I was walking in the wholesale flower district one day, and I passed by this place where this old Chinese man, right, in Little Shop of Horrors, that's C, A minor, F, G. So it's
a way to telegraph what decade we're in. That's
exactly, because Heart and Soul defines the sound of the 50s so clearly, of 50s pop music, especially because so many other 50s pop songs stole that chord progression from Heart and Soul because it was so like popular.
So before we go back to Peter, I have one more question, which is the name Those Magic Changes. Changes refer to the changes of where you hold your fingers. Is that the idea?
Yeah, chord changes. So we're on C, and then we change to A minor, and then we change to F, and then we change to G. And the point is that like a chord on its own is just a chord. It doesn't have any sort of emotional connotation to it. It's how you use it in the context of the chord progression that makes it, like when you just play a C major chord, it's just a major chord. But when you change then to an A minor, you were major and then you went minor. There's something so emotional about that major to minor, that change. And so that the change is where the magic happens in all music.
And here's another video I think you'll like.